A woman becomes Archbishop of Canterbury for the first time. The Pope says you can't really call yourself pro-life if you support the death penalty. A Christian therapist takes Colorado to court for the right to speak biblical truths. Doug Wilson's ideas keep popping up in Washington. And Liberty University fires a vice president after multiple harassment allegations. Welcome to TULIP News on Righteous Vote, where we cover the controversies shaking the reformed world and its collision with culture and government. I'm Pete, and here's what's happened this week in church and culture. The stories that reveal where the battle lines are being drawn for faith in the public square. The Church of England has made history and controversy by naming Sarah Mullally as the first female Archbishop of Canterbury. Mullally, formerly Bishop of London, is known for progressive views on gender and inclusion. Many inside the Church of England call this long overdue, but across Africa and Asia, conservative Anglicans leaders are furious. GAFCON released a statement saying the move abandons the historic faith and further fractures the communion. For Reformed believers, this is a warning. Once doctrine starts bending to culture, it rarely straightens again. Expect more splits, more new denominations, and more people searching for a church that still believes what it confesses. Pope Leo XIV gave an interview that stirred up both Catholics and Protestants. He said, "Someone who says they're against abortion but supports the death penalty is not truly pro-life." He went on to say the same applies to how we treat immigrants and prisoners. The Vatican even updated its catechism, declaring capital punishment inadmissible, something previous generation of Christians never said. For evangelical, that raises real questions. Scripture calls the civil magistrate a servant of God who does not bear the sword in vain. So is the Pope calling that unjust, or simply broadening the word life until it means everything and nothing? Either way, it shows how much moral language is shifting. What once defined faithfulness is now up for rebranding. In Colorado, Christian therapist Kaylee Childs is suing the state over its ban of what is called conversion therapy. Childs says her sessions are voluntary, faith-based, and focus on helping teens live according to biblical convictions. The state says her approach is harmful and illegal. The case is now before the Supreme Court. The issue isn't only therapy, it's speech. If the government can ban certain moral convictions, what happens to pastors, counselors, or even parents who want to speak biblical truth? Reformed believers have always defended conscience before kings. This case might decide how much conscience this law still allows. Doug Wilson's name keeps showing up in major media again. The Wall Street Journal ran a profile describing his push for a Christian republic and how these ideas are catching ears in the political circles. Critics call it theocracy. Supporters call it obedience to Christ's lordship over the nations. The interesting part is this. For years, Wilson's work stayed mostly inside Reformed subculture. Now his language about building parallel Christian institutions, rejecting secular neutrality, is showing up in speeches and think tank papers. When theology moves into the public square, it gets tested. Motives, methods, and inconsistencies will all be exposed. Love him or not, Wilson has forced America to ask, what does it really mean for Jesus to be the Lord of everything? Liberty University has fired Vice President Jay Spencer after multiple female employees accused him of sexual harassment and inappropriate behavior. According to the Roy's report, complaints had circulated internally for months, but the issue only exploded once those reports were published publicly. Within 48 hours of that article, Liberty opened a formal review and terminated Spencer's employment. Here's why this story matters. For decades, big Christian institutions handled scandals quietly. Internal investigations, carefully worded statements, and little transparency. But a wave of independent Christian journalists is changing that. When I say independent Christian journalism now holds real power inside the church, I mean this. They can publish facts and force action. They aren't owned by denominations or ministries, so they can say what insiders won't. And once a story breaks, the old no comment strategy doesn't work anymore. That's uncomfortable, but it's also accountability. Sunlight has a way of exposing rot before it spreads. That's your Tulip news for the week. Which of these stories deserves a deeper dive? The Church of England's gender shift, the Pope's new definition of pro-life, Doug Wilson's influence, or the Liberty University shakeup? Let me know in the comments. Like the video, subscribe, and stay tuned for next week's breakdown of faith, culture, and conviction. I'm Pete, and this is the Tulip News, keeping watch over a world that belongs to Christ.